How's it going, guys? I've been having some issues with the Helium miners that I've set up, um, especially this month, where there was a lot of outages within the Helium network and blockchain. I found myself having to constantly restart or resync some of these devices, and them being at remote locations at my friends and family's house, it was a real hassle. So I was researching a few methods to have remote monitoring for um, these miners so I can just restart and resync from home rather than having to go to the location or calling up the people at the location to do it for me. Um, so yeah, this is a very cheap method of keeping a tab on these miners. I'll go through the entire setup process with the Raspberry Pi units. I suggest getting one of these Raspberry Pi Zero with the wireless chip built into it. They're very cheap. You can the MSRP for is about $15, but they are in high demand. But you can still find some for under $30. I bought a few of these and set them up, and they work really well. So I'll just go through the setup process, and hopefully you can use this as well. So there's a few other devices that you can use. You can even use one of your older Raspberry Pi 4 models, or one of the newer Raspberry Pi Zero 2. Like I said, it's $15 MSRP, but you're gonna have some hard time getting it at that price. There are a few sellers or vendors out there that still offer it for under 20 bucks, so I suggest that you pick them up as fast as you can. Pick up a couple for each of your miner, and that way, yeah, you can easily just remote into these devices and restart or resync. So before we start, we need to set up these miners. Since we are trying to be as cheap as possible, we're only buying the units. We're not going to be buying any of the additional adapters that come with it. Maybe a case and a heatsink to keep it nice and cool, and you know, so that the board itself is not exposed completely. Once you have acquired a device, we'll just need to image it and then set up some remote desktop applications on it. That way we can just remote into it whenever we want to. First, we'll need to download the PyImager software. You can go directly to raspberrypi.com and then go to the software tab and get the imager directly from the source. I already have it downloaded, but this is where you'll find the imager. And then I suggest creating a real VNC account. This account will let you control up to 5 devices for free through their cloud server. So I already created an account and activated it. It's a very simple process. Just sign up with an email, and you can choose the option to activate for the home edition, which allows you to control up to 5 devices. Let's go to the viewer download page and go ahead and download the Bnc Viewer. This will be the program they'll be using to remote access the Pis once they're already installed at their destinations. So I already downloaded and installed the software. And once you have set up your sign-in with the real VNC, make sure you sign into it. Just type in the email address that you use to create the account and then the password. Okay, I went ahead and signed into Bnc Viewer using my account, and now that I have that installed, we'll go ahead and image our Raspberry Pi. Okay, go ahead and open up the Raspberry Pi imager, and you will need about a 4 gig or higher micro SD card to image the Pi to. I have one connected to my PC. It's a 32 gig one. That's the only one I can find. So I'll go ahead and just image that with the Raspberry Pi OS 32-bit. This one comes with the desktop UI, graphical UI. So this is the one you want. So I'll go ahead and start the imaging process. Choose my device and click on write. Would ask you if you wanted to format everything. Go ahead and click yes. And it will take about 5 minutes to write the image onto the micro SD card. Once the imaging process is done, it will automatically eject the device. So you will need to unplug the USB adapter for the SD card or the SD card itself from the computer and replug it back in. I went ahead and replugged the device in, and it will show up as a format that Windows cannot read, and will ask you to format the disk. Go ahead and cancel it, and then open it up to boot drive D. This is the kernel OS for the Raspberry Pi, and we will need to create a few files within here so we can access it right away. First thing we need to do is create an empty SSH file. So just right click and create new, do a text document, and we'll just call it SSH, and we'll leave it completely empty. Okay, now we need to create a file to allow the Pi to automatically connect to our wireless network. You don't need to do this step if you are connecting it to the Ethernet port using a Raspberry Pi 4 or a Raspberry Pi 0 with the Ethernet adapter. I already have a file ready on the desktop, so I'm just going to copy it over. This is a .config file, so you will need to edit the file and add your Wi-Fi information directly into it. I added mine. I'll include this file in the description below, and if you don't want to use it, you just have to create a .config file and then type in the code for it, which I'll include in the description as well. Once you place this on to the boot drive, we're pretty much good to go. We will unplug the micro SD card and plug it into the Raspberry Pi and boot it up. And we'll probably have to wait a good 5 minutes for the first time setup to complete, and for the Raspberry Pi to connect to the Wi-Fi. So we'll go ahead and do that now. While we're waiting for the Pi to start up, we'll go ahead and install the Ubuntu terminal app for Windows. So we just need to go to the Windows store and type in Ubuntu, and there it is. I installed the 20.0 LTS version. Once you have it installed, go ahead and open it up. If you receive this error where the Windows subsystem for Linux is not enabled, we'll need to enable it. To enable it, go ahead and open up Control Panel, go to Programs and Features, and then we'll need to turn on the Windows feature that allows us to have the Linux utilities installed. So we'll go ahead and scroll down to the bottom where it says Windows Subsystem for Linux. Go ahead and check that and OK. And it will go ahead and install that utility for us. And once the utility installs, we need to go ahead and restart the machine. So I'll go ahead and restart. I went ahead and restarted and relaunched the Ubuntu terminal. It's installing right now, and it will take a few minutes for it to finish setting up. Once the initial setup is complete, we'll just go ahead and create a username for ourselves and a password. Alright, we're in. Alright, so now by this time the Pi should be online, um, and we'll go ahead and try to ping it. If you're not able to ping by typing in ping Raspberry Pi, if this is the case, then you will need to look up the IP address that Pi is registered under on your router, and I was able to find it, and let me try pinging it with the IP address. And looks like the Pi is online. So I'll go ahead and stop the ping and try to SSH into it. And to SSH, you need to type in SSH Pi at the IP address of the Pi. 7. And it will ask you to enter the password. By default, it's just Raspberry. Alright, so I am able to log into the Raspberry Pi. I did do a test before. When you're doing it for the first time, it will ask you if you wanted to create an SSH fingerprint. You want to type in yes for that if it pops up. Okay, now we're gonna try to make sure the Pi is totally up to date. So I'll just go ahead and sudo into it. Okay, I am now sudo. I'll type in apt-get update, and this will download all the updates for Raspberry Pi OS. Also make sure all the features that we need. Okay, the update completed, and I'll go and do an upgrade, and that is apt-get upgrade, and we'll wait for this to finish as well. Yeah, it looks like it's done pretty fast. When the update completes, we'll go ahead and type in raspi-config and open up the Raspberry Pi configurations, and we'll go ahead and update the system options and update the host name. So this just changes the name of the Raspberry Pi. I'll just type in Helium monitor and click OK. And then we need to enable some of the interface options. And what we'll turn on is the Bnc. Would you like to enable? Yes. Alright, the service is now enabled. Since this part is complete, we can go ahead and try to remote into the graphical interface. Right? So I'll go ahead and close out of Ubuntu and open up the Bnc Viewer and type in the address of the Pi. Alright, it will give us a warning. We'll go ahead and continue, and then type in the details for the Pi. So by default, the Pi's username is Pi, and the password is Raspberry. Oops. Alright, go ahead and connect. Okay, we are connected to the graphical interface, and Bnc is enabled. We'll go ahead and do the initial setup, and it will give you a warning that the default password for Pi has not been changed. Let's go ahead and change that as well to make to keep it a little more secure. To change the password, type in sudo passwd and the name of the account you're trying to change for. In this case, Pi. It will ask you to type in a new password and retype. Okay, now you have changed the default password for the Pi. Now we'll go ahead and change the default root password since this is a remote device. So to change root password, we had to go in as root, that is sudo su, and now you're root, and we'll just type in passwd and type in a new password for root. Okay, root password has been changed, and the default Pi user account password has been changed as well. This way the Raspberry Pi is a little more secure. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and sign into Bnc. This way we can access it remotely from anywhere. We'll just have to click on the Bnc icon on the top right, right click on it, and then go to licensing. And here you will enter the username and the email address and password you used to register with the Bnc. Okay, I signed in as myself. Let's go ahead and change the computer name for the team. I'll just call it the Helium Monitor again. Apply. Okay, we'll go ahead and restart the system. Go ahead and do a reboot. Okay, now that we have registered the Pi to our account, we can go to the team and see it listed there. When the Pi comes back online, if we were to click on this icon, it will automatically connect to it. It is not making a local connection like we did over here. This is actually accessing it through the cloud, which is how we want to do it when the system is remote or installed outside our network. Okay, now I'm going to double click on the Helium monitor, and it is making a connection through the cloud. I'll go ahead and click continue. And then here we'll need to type in the Pi password and username and password, I mean. And take us to the graphical UI. Once you're here, as long as you're on the same network as the Helium device, you just need to open up the browser and type in the IP address of the Helium miner. I believe Nebra and Bobcat both has a diagnostic tool built into it. I'll go ahead and show you guys how to download and install Xrdp in case you're not able to get the Bnc server set up on the Raspberry Pis. So to do that, we'll need to go back into the Pi via SSH. We'll go ahead and SSH back into the Pi. Okay, once you're in, we'll just type in sudo apt install Xrdp, and it will go ahead and install Xrdp for you. Once the installation completes, you need to type in this command in to get the status. Now we need to add the user cert. Then we'll just go ahead and restart the Xrdp services. Okay, now we can go ahead and close out of the Ubuntu terminal and open up remote desktop. And then type in the IP address of the device you're trying to connect to. And just like a regular Windows desktop connection, it will ask you for to verify the computer. Go ahead and verify it, and it will take you to the login screen. Here, just type in Pi and the password that you set up for Pi. So once you enter the password, it will connect to the Pi using remote desktop instead of Bnc Viewer. Um, that's pretty much it for remote desktop. If you were to connect from outside your network, there's a few things that you will need to do. You have outside connection set up. Um, so I'll just go ahead and connect to it. Like I mentioned before, for Xrdps to work outside of your network, you need to open up a port on the router you're trying to connect to for this specific device. You can just do a quick Google search on how to set it up. It's relatively easy. You do need to have access to the router that you're trying to connect to. That way you can open up the port for the Raspberry Pi. Once you have done that, you can just go back to your home and try to connect to it. Or you can use the remote desktop app on your mobile device as well, just to test it out. Okay, I went ahead and connected to it, and I'll need to type in my password. Once the desktop loads up, you just need to go ahead and open up a browser and then type in the IP address of the Helium miner that you have at the same location as the Raspberry Pi. Okay, I went ahead and typed in the IP address of the Bobcat miner, and it pulled up the diagnostic page. Here we can check the sync status. Open that up in a different tab if you want to. If you scroll down, you have more options to reset the miner, reboot the miner, in case something happens with the sync status. You can always just try these methods remotely rather than waiting for the miner to figure it out on its own, or sometimes it will just get stuck until we reboot, or sometimes even reset the miner. Especially this month with the outages, it was I had to do this a couple of times to get it back online and synced again. So yeah, um, that's pretty much it for the diagnostic tools. You can keep the tabs open and just refresh it once in a while just to see the sync status. That's the best way. This way the miner is not overloaded with your requests. The last thing you want to set up is an automatic restart for the Pi. This way, in case the Pi runs into any errors and you're not able to connect to it, it will automatically restart at a set time and clear out those errors. To schedule a task, we'll go ahead and open up the terminal and then type in sudo cron tab -e. If it asks you to choose an option, choose option 1. And then scroll all the way down and add this line to it. It's 0 space 0 space asterisk space asterisk space asterisk slash sbin slash reboot. Alright, once you have added that, go ahead and hit Control X and we'll ask you, do you want to save? Yep. And enter. Okay, it went ahead and installed a new Chrome tab for us. That's pretty much it. You have scheduled it to restart at midnight every day. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. We just went over how to set up a monitoring device for your remote Helium miners. You just had to make sure it's on the same network as the Helium miner, and you can always just type in the IP address and do some diagnostic there, or reboot, or resync, whatever you need to do. Alright, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them below. Thank you so much.